The first time I see her, she's squinting at my cabin from across the road, like it personally offended her. I'm chopping without back. Sun high, sweat on my brow, birds chirping like they're on a loop. My name's Darren Cole, 34, black, and a former federal agent. Retired early, bought this slice of forest peace in a mostly white, gated lake community up in Montana. One cabin, one dock, and 20 years of savings sunk into a life where I can finally breathe. Most neighbors wave, nod, or pretend I don't exist. Fine by me. I didn't move here for potlucks. I moved here for the silence. But Karen doesn't do silence. "Is this your property?" she asks on day 3, hands on hips, blonde bob stiff in the wind. She's got that tennis club energy, like she's used to people answering her fast. "Yes." I reply, pausing just long enough to make her uncomfortable. She doesn't introduce herself, doesn't smile, just stares at the cabin, then back at me. "I'm the head of the HOA," she announces, as if it's a federal title. "We weren't informed this cabin had been sold. Who did you buy it from?" Her tone isn't curiosity, it's accusation. I dry my hands on my jeans and lean on the axe handle. Private sale. The owner was retiring. "Well, next time," inform the HOA. "We like to be involved in all community decisions." I almost laugh. Good thing it wasn't a community decision. That's when I see it. The flash of irritation behind her fake smile. She's used to being obeyed. I don't fit into her worldview, and she doesn't like that. I watch her stalk off down the trail, whispering into her phone. Her pearls glint like tiny shackles in the sun. At night, I replay the conversation. I've seen this before in interrogation rooms, in courtrooms, in D.C. boardrooms. People like her don't need badges. They weaponize entitlement. She thinks she owns this place. And she's not used to people like me owning anything. Still, I don't think much of it. People like her bark, puff up, then move on when they realize you won't bend. But I should have known better. Karen wasn't barking. She was plotting. It starts small. First, the trash bins I leave at the roadside on collection day vanish. Then I get a fine slip under my door, $1.75 for unauthorized exterior modifications. I changed out a porch light bulb. There's no HOA website, no portal, no mailing address, just Karen. Her name is on every notice. Her signature, looping like royalty. I ignore the fine. She doubles it. Then a family shows up. I'm in the middle of smoking ribs when a white SUV rolls up my gravel drive. A man in mirrored Oakley steps out, followed by his wife and 2 teenage boys. They look confused. The man approaches with a clipboard and a folder tucked under his arm. "Hey there," he says, smiling like I should recognize him. "We're the Hastings. Karen said the place was ready for us to move in." I lower the tongs slowly. "Move in?" He glances back at his wife, uneasy. "Yeah, this is 44 Red Timber Trail, right?" "That's right." I say, my voice low. She said her son could take over the cabin. Said the previous owner never really finalized the sale and that it reverted to HOA control. He chuckles awkwardly. She said she was just holding it until we got here. I step closer. "I bought this cabin. Cash. Title and deed recorded." His face pales. Karen lied. I say. The wife pulls her sons closer. The man apologizes, gets in the SUV, and backs out so fast he kicks up a cloud of dust over my smoker. That night, I can't sleep. My gut churns like I'm back on a stakeout. Who does that? Who tells people they can move into someone else's home? Then I remember. People who think they're untouchable. The next morning, I walk down to the HOA bulletin board near the dock. There's a fresh flyer posted. Cabin 44, under HOA review. Potential for long-term rental or community center. My fists clench. There's no signature. Just the HOA seal. Some made-up emblem Karen probably designed on Canva. I yank the flyer down and march straight to her house. It's the biggest one on the hill. Perched like a watchtower, American flags swaying beside perfectly trimmed hedges. I ring the bell once. She opens the door halfway, sipping from a wine glass. It's 10:07 a.m. "Did you tell the Hastings to move into my cabin?" She doesn't blink. You don't own that property. The previous deed transfer was void due to clerical issues. The HOA has assumed management. I stare at her. You're lying. She smiles. You should know, Mr. Cole. We have procedures here. I suggest you follow them. My blood boils. Not because she's trying to steal my property, but because she's doing it with the smug confidence of someone who thinks no one can stop her. She picked the wrong cabin. And the wrong man. I don't sleep that night. I sit on the porch in the dark, watching her house through the trees. One hand grips a legal pad filled with dates, copies of emails, and screenshots. The other holds a cold cup of coffee. My instincts are screaming. I've seen corruption before, but never from someone who sips rose while gutting you like a bureaucratic surgeon. The next morning, I go into town. The county clerk's office is a boxy brick building with humming fluorescent lights and that familiar smell of paper and sweat. I slide my paperwork under the glass window to a young black woman named Janelle. Can you pull up the records for 44 Red Timber Trail? She squints at the screen. Yes, sir. Darren Cole. Transfer recorded February 17th. Everything looks good. I nod. Any liens, reversals, disputes? Nope. Clear and clean. So, how the hell is she getting away with this? Can you print me everything? Deed, signatures, filings. All of it. Janelle prints the full packet and staples it like armor. You having trouble with the HOA? I raise an eyebrow. She leans in. You're not the first. I tuck that thought away. Back home, I find tire tracks on my land. Deep ones. Fresh. Someone's been here. Inside, nothing's missing, but my camera SD cards are gone. Every single one. My trail cams are wiped clean. That's not just Karen anymore. This is sabotage. I go to the sheriff. Sheriff Donnelly is a white man with a pot belly and a permanent sunburn. He listens with a bored expression as I explain. She told a family they could move into my house. I say. He shrugs. Sounds like a misunderstanding. Karen's head of the HOA. Sometimes wires get crossed. She posted a flyer saying she's repurposing my property. Well, let's not jump conclusions. I stare at him. Sheriff, do you not see what's happening here? I see a new neighbor stirring things up, he says. And Karen's lived here 15 years. There it is. The you don't belong here undercurrent dressed up as diplomacy. I used to run counterintelligence. I say, softly, you think I don't recognize coordinated harassment when I see it? He looks uneasy now. You got proof? Working on it. That's good, he says. Until then, I'd appreciate if you keep things civil. We don't want trouble out here. I walk out before I say something that earns me a charge. Back at the cabin, I install new cameras. Hidden this time. Motion activated. Cellular upload. Encrypted. Let's see if she wipes these. Then I start digging. Late nights. Old court records. Whisper networks online. Karen Whitmore has left a trail. 3 years ago, a Vietnamese couple sued the HOA for racially motivated eviction pressure. Settled quietly. 2 years before that, an interracial family's pool construction permit was lost 3 times until they moved away. She doesn't just run the HOA. She weaponizes it. And everyone else plays along because they're scared of her or because they agree. So I make a call. Not to a lawyer, to a friend at the bureau. He answers on the first ring. Cole, I need a favor, I say, and I need you to not ask questions yet. Say less. The next day, I put my own flyer on the HOA board. Fraudulent claims on Cabin 44 will be met with legal action. Property is privately owned. By sunset, it's been ripped down. That night, my power goes out. Someone's cut the main line. I fire up the generator. As the cabin hums back to life, I walk to the edge of the property, flashlight in hand, and spot something. A shoe print, deep in the mud, just outside the motion sensor's range. Karen's not working alone. This is coordinated. They want me out. But I didn't survive 10 years in federal operations to be bullied by a woman who thinks her HOA badge gives her the power of God. She thinks I'm just another man she can erase. But she has no idea who she just declared war on. Sunday morning comes with sirens. I jolt awake, the flashing red and blues bouncing off my window panes. A sheriff's deputy is standing on my porch, hand on his belt. "Mr. Cole," he calls through the screen. "We have a report of trespassing." I open the door, calm and deliberate. "On my own property?" He glances at his notepad. "HOA president says you're occupying a residence that's under community review. Says you've ignored notices and violated multiple codes." I almost laugh. "Do you have a warrant?" I ask. "No, sir. Just trying to mediate." "Then I suggest you get off my land." Karen's standing at the end of the drive in a white linen pantsuit, smug as hell. Her son, mid-20s, smug mini Karen, leans on a Range Rover parked halfway on my lawn. She waves sweetly. "Just want a peaceful resolution, Mr. Cole. You've been so uncooperative." Her voice carries. The neighbors are watching from their porches. Phone's out. Whispering. I step off the porch and face her, slowly. "You brought the police to my property to frame me as a trespasser? You're squatting on a structure under HOA reclamation," she says, reciting like it's scripture. "Due to deed discrepancies, your ownership is void pending administrative review." There is no discrepancy, I say, voice rising. "I have the signed deed, notarized and filed with the county. You don't own this. The HOA doesn't own this." "You may not understand how these things work," she says with a syrupy smile, "but we have bylaws. Community integrity is at stake." "You mean a black man in your perfect white lakeside fantasy?" I snap, gasp from the onlookers. The deputy shifts uncomfortably. Karen doesn't flinch. "I've already submitted the transfer paperwork for my son to take over cabin. The community supports the transition." My jaw tightens. "You forged transfer documents?" "Careful," she says. "That's slander." I nod slowly. "Then let's settle this now." I pull a folder from my satchel and hold it up. Certified deed, property line survey, affidavit from the seller, and a recorded phone call where your son says, quote, "Mom says she can push the color guy out. No problem." The air goes still. Her face twitches. "And just for fun, I continue," turning to the deputy. "I'd like to introduce you to someone." From behind the cabin, a silver SUV pulls up the drive. Out steps Agent Ramirez. Dark suit, calm smile. "FBI, Special Agent Ramirez," he says, flashing his badge to the deputy. "We're investigating fraudulent property seizures connected to a pattern of racially discriminatory HOA practices. Your president here is a person of interest." Karen stumbles back. "You can't. This is harassment," she shouts. Ramirez tilts his head. "Actually, it's a federal crime. Wire fraud, deed tampering, racial discrimination under the Fair Housing Act, and impersonation of a government entity." Karen's face drains of all color. Her son's already in the car, reversing down the road like he's seen a ghost. The neighbors? Suddenly fascinated with their lawns. Ramirez steps closer to Karen. "You thought this was just some cabin. What you didn't know, Mrs. Whitmore, is that this property was seized in an undercover federal operation 4 years ago. The Bureau transferred it as compensation to a former agent." She stares at me. "And you gave it to your son," I say coldly, "like it was yours to offer." "You set me up," she whispers. "No," I reply. "You walked into this all on your own. I just hit record." The deputy steps forward. "Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to come with us." She looks around, desperate. But no one comes to her rescue. For the first time since she started this war, Karen realizes she's lost. Badly. Karen is silent as the deputy cuffs her, her linen sleeves bunched up around her wrists like surrender flags. The neighbors stare, some recording, some pretending not to, but none of them, none, come to her defense. She always thought fear was loyalty. Turns out it was just silence waiting for the right wind to shift. Her voice finally cracks as they lead her toward the cruiser. "You're making a mistake. I know people." Agent Ramirez walks beside her. "You weaponize a private HOA to illegally evict and intimidate property owners. That's not knowing people, that's targeting them." She looks over her shoulder at me. "You think this is justice?" "No, I say. Justice is just beginning." And that's when it happens. A second SUV pulls into the cul-de-sac, county code enforcement, followed by two suited men from the Civil Rights Division. Ramirez had called in backup. "Your HOA is officially under federal review," one of the suits announces. "Any active enforcement is suspended. All fines and liens are frozen until further notice." I watched the words slice into Karen like razors. Because control wasn't just her addiction, it was her identity. Without it, she's just another homeowner with a God complex and a trail of bad deeds. But it's not over yet. I step forward, holding my phone out. "I have something else." "I say." "I recorded her conversation with her son last week." Ramirez nods. "Play it." I hit play, casting the audio to a small Bluetooth speaker tucked under the eave of my porch. Karen's voice echoes through the trees. "The guy doesn't belong here. He's not our kind. Once the fines rack up and we declare it abandoned, I'll just reassign it to Jason. He deserves it more anyway." "But what if he fights back?" "He won't. They never do. Not out here." There's a collective breath from the crowd. Ramirez raises a brow. "Well, that's clear enough." The civil rights agent speaks to the group of neighbors. "Anyone here receives similar enforcement from Ms. Whitmore's HOA?" One hand rises. Then two more. Then five. A Hispanic family steps forward. She fined us for painting our mailbox. Said it didn't match the community tone. An elderly black veteran speaks up. She threatened me for flying a Juneteenth flag. Said it wasn't HOA approved. The silence turns to murmurs. Then outrage. Karen is frozen now. Her eyes dart from face to face, realizing she's not the puppet master anymore. She's the target. And the crowd's not afraid anymore. I turn to the deputy. "I'd like to press formal charges. Harassment, fraud, attempted theft of property, and racial discrimination." He nods. Ramirez pulls me aside. "We're going to need your full statement and evidence. But with this recording, the files you gathered in witness testimonies will likely add federal charges." I look toward Karen. She's being placed in the back seat, still trying to yell, but her voice is swallowed by the wind and the crowd. That woman spent years burying people under paperwork. I say, time to see how she likes it. Ramirez grins. Let her try to HOA her way out of federal holding cell. As Karen's SUV pulls away, her Range Rover still sits awkwardly on the edge of my yard. Neighbors step forward awkwardly, some with apologies, some with awkward pats on the back, like they just now realize they'd let this woman run unchecked for too long. The Hastings family even returns. "I'm sorry," the husband says. "We didn't know. She told us she was helping." I nod, helping herself. He sighs. "She almost sold us a crime scene." "She sold you a lie. I say, be more careful who you trust with your future." They nod and leave quietly. Later that evening, I sit on the dock with a cup of coffee, watching the sunset behind the trees. The air smells clean again. Untouched. Mine. But then a sound. A knock. I turn. It's Janelle, the county clerk. She holds up a USB stick. "You were right," she says. "Found older documents in the HOA registry. Doctored. Deleted. Backdated. She's been cooking books for years." I take the stick, eyebrows raised. "You just made this a RICO case." She smiles. "Don't mess with a black man's peace." I laugh. Or his cabin. I upload the files to my offsite server, and as the stars start to blink into view overhead, I realize something. This wasn't just about one entitled woman trying to steal a cabin. It was about people like her thinking the rules were theirs to bend, and people like me being expected to bow. Not anymore. Karen's mugshot hits the evening news 2 days later. Not just local coverage, national. HOA president arrested for fraud, racial discrimination, and forgery in Montana land dispute. Clips of her being escorted by federal agents go viral. Someone even overlays her condescending HOA voice over a remix of Handcuffs snapping shut. It trends for 3 days. Poetic. A week later, I sit in the county courtroom, watching her squirm in an orange jumpsuit that doesn't match her pearls. Her lawyer keeps whispering frantically, but she's not listening. She's staring at me, But the look in her eyes isn't hatred anymore. It's confusion. Like she still can't understand how her game didn't work this time. How the system she thought she controlled turned against her. I testify calmly. So do others. The veteran, the Hispanic couple. Even two white families who admitted they looked the other way. Because she was scary. One of them breaks down. We didn't want to get involved. But now I see how wrong we were. Small steps. Karen is denied bail. The federal case is just beginning, but the court has enough to remand her into custody. Ramirez calls me the next day. Civil Rights Division wants to use your case to push legislation against HOA abuse, especially where it intersects with race. I nod. Good. This, he says, is bigger than a cabin now. I walk the property line that afternoon. It's quiet, just the wind and the creak of the dock. But something's changed. Neighbors wave now. Some even stop to talk. Apologize. A few offer food. One older man drops off fresh-cut firewood and simply says, "Thanks for standing up." I don't pretend we're suddenly best friends. That would be naive. But cracks in foundation? They're there. And light's finally getting in. Janelle visits again, dropping off the final reports. She buried people in bureaucracy. She says, I say we buried her with truth. Turns out Karen forged at least 9 lien documents, tampered with voting records, and used HOA funds to fund her son's business, one that never existed. The FBI is freezing her assets. The county's dissolving the HOA pending a full investigation. And the cabin? Mine. Legally, eternally, and indisputably. But the real win is this. For once, the system worked for someone like me. Not because it wanted to. Because I made it. That night, I light a fire in the backyard pit. The same pit Karen tried to find me over for unauthorized burning. I roast a marshmallow in complete silence. No sirens. No Range Rovers. No passive-aggressive flyers. Just me, the stars, and a crackling fire. I think about the way she looked at me that first day. Like I didn't belong. But now I sit on her ashes and breathe easy.